So I'll just quickly introduce myself. My name is Chitra. I'm a chartered accountant, and I work as part of the finance transformation vertical here at Contatra. And this is just one initiative that we wanted to take because we wanted to do a lot of community building. Earlier during the pandemic, we used to have a lot of B2C IFRS courses, but then of course we're a consulting company, and that course was not in a way to kind of it was not a revenue stream for us as much as it was a community building initiative. But since that's not something that we do anymore, we thought we'll start a podcast which is called CFOs Not Talking Finance. So this podcast also has nothing to do with finance, and it's just it's trying to learn and understand a little more about your journey, your corporate journey throughout. And how you have reached here right until from the point that you decided to do, pursue accounting as a career. So if you can just give us a short introductory, background on your journey so far, and then we'll move on to the fun icebreaker questions that we have, which do not have anything to do with finance.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Um, I'll keep it very short. Like, I was not very particular in becoming a CEO or somebody, but my only goal or intention was always being independent. Maybe because I was always being questioned about your identity in my childhood. Uh, so probably that made me like, understand how what importance of being independent. Like you might call it being financially independent, or you might be calling it being a taskmaster or whatever it is. So that's when I thought, okay, maybe a professional coach would be help me. And when I was actually looking into what should I be doing, I had this hatred towards science. Some gate exams, all entrance exams. So I was like totally pissed off looking at that. So I thought, okay, science is not my cup of tea, probably. And
That's surprising
somehow I
considering I think you're from Hyderabad. So there, everybody by default, I think science is the first thing that you end up choosing over there, I
engineering
think.
graduates. By default,
Engineering,
everybody
yes,
is an
yes,
engineering
yeah.
graduate. So probably that was not my cup of tea. I had two brothers, and both of them were like writing numerous sets. Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, each and every state has different kind of exams, entrance exams, and everything, right? So I developed that hatred towards science. So I thought my studies should really not be so tough. But I learned later on that CA is quite difficult than all this. I should have gone there.
Mm.
That's
I
how I
think the
ended up
difference
in.
also is, I mean, with CA, the entry is always a lot easier because our first, in my time it was called CPT. So at that time
Mm.
that's very easy to get through. So you have that false sense of, okay, this is, you can tide over the exams easily and then you get
The
stuck.
survival throughout the journey is difficult.
Yes, correct.
Your stability of your mind and how strong are you to get through the whole process ideally matters, right? So maybe I was lucky enough in that process because I faced hardships only in my CA final. So in CA final, probably the first attempt that I had to give, I had my brother's wedding, so it was like no books, nothing. So it was just like go attempt and come back. Second, I've given with all 100%, but I still lost it. So I said for the third attempt, I'm not giving. I was like done by then. I told my father like I'm not giving. I've joined a full-time job, and there, my dad tried to convince me, just give it an attempt. So I just took like maybe 1 month's leave, and then I've attempted it, and luckily I got through. And surprisingly, I got
Nice.
exemptions in three papers also. So that was real surprising to me. So that's how
Mm-hmm.
my journey of CA went through. But then one notable or kind of one hardship that I faced in CA was my internship. I've done it at two places. One was in a Big Four or maybe the Big Five.
Yes, yes. I saw your profile at Grant Thornton and then you moved to a smaller
Yes, yes.
firm.
So GT was always kind of a challenge for me because till then I never had a work exposure, and I don't come from a family background who are into this corporate world also. My dad is a business person, and then my mom is like housewife. So I don't know like how a corporate world ideally operates. So I was totally naive to it. So by the time I started understanding a corporate world, I was put into under some managers who are like always pinpointing, you didn't do that, you didn't do this, or if you have done this, then why did you do this, etc., etc. So that was like a trauma, and it took probably 1.5 years for me for my managers to understand, okay, she has some worth. And then I was given handover of a project altogether by my manager, super senior manager in Delhi. They were easily able to understand like what I was able to accomplish. So I was very glad we finished it. And then, but again, the overnight, the long work hours, long weekends, etc., etc. So there now came a challenge from my family, like you'll have to put your foot down now, study, go study. So they don't understand the importance of your articleship journey, what you learn, how you grow, how you groom. So these things probably our family backgrounds don't understand, provided from which background you come from. So I had to quit GT over there, of course, for the own personal reasons. And then I've come down to a medium-sized firm where again I had good exposure over there also. So it was like a combination. But yeah, I learned it in a hard way how important is, to groom yourself in early stages of your life, having a
Correct.
mentor, being guided. Because from then, when I started my career journey, I never had anybody similar to my industry who was ideally kind of, guiding me. I always worked under non-technical people. So the initial stint of my work was under my CEO, directly under my CEO. So he's a technical guy, but it was really fun working under him. You get to know
Mm-hmm.
different perspectives. You think from a different perspective, and they look at it from a different.
Yeah.
So it was fun, but you never know when you are and you might be missing few things when you do a particular task, right? If there was an experienced guy in your place, or
Mm-hmm.
he had been your senior, then he would have told you, like, you can deal with this person in this way. Probably you should look at this particular transaction in this way, jot out these options. So I never had that chance or, kind of privilege of working under anybody. So it was
Mm.
all like self-build, self-learn, grow slowly.
Correct, correct. I mean, that is a different kind of challenge, right? You learn the hard way, I think, in such a
Exactly,
situation.
exactly. All the ways, you first go through the hardship, you go through all the what do I say? It'll always be like a bad experience you face, and then you get a good experience because you've learned it. You've learned it over a period of time. And maybe those who have already come from or already had a privilege of having a mentor or anybody might have passed you already. So that's always there when
Yeah,
you come through a hardship.
correct,
Yeah.
correct, correct, correct. Wonderful. And currently in your role, what all are you overseeing?
Okay, so I have joined a startup company which is based out in Bangalore. This
Mm-hmm.
is Aruni Life Sciences. So
Mm-hmm.
they cater to bioprocess industries,
Okay.
basically
Mm-hmm.
biotechnology and bioprocess industries. So they provide
Mm-hmm.
consumables and hardware equipment. So to keep it precise for any pharma company which is involved in drug manufacturing or a vaccine manufacturing,
Hmm.
whatever they require, we cater to them.
Understood,
So it,
understood.
it could be an equipment in the process of drug manufacturing, or it could be a consumable in the process of drug manufacturing. We are
Okay.
placed there.
Understood, understood. All right. Thank you so much, Satya, for that. Now we move on to the more fun questions. For the very first question, I already know what you might say because of the background you told me about not wanting to do engineering. But what's a job that you would absolutely fail at? I mean, while you've had a very successful career, what's a job that you think you would just be really bad at?
I would be really bad at. I really didn't identify anything of that sort till now,
So I
probably.
guess it can't have anything to do with, learning a skill set because eventually you will learn something if you put enough time and effort.
Exactly.
But this is
And
probably
and I
something
come
which,
from.
you have a fear of. For example, I think I would be a very bad skydiving instructor because I'm terrified of heights. So something like that.
Okay, okay, then no, not really, because if you ask me about my learning, I come from different domain of industries, right? Initially, it was a software, then it
Mm-hmm.
was a product, then it was a pharma consulting. Now I'm totally into life sciences, and I
Correct,
had into
correct, correct.
manufacturing. So
Mm-hmm.
technically, also, I didn't have that fear. You're like, you won't be able to understand like what is happening in that
Uh-huh.
process and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Might be I'm. I don't know because I go for a lot of trekkings also. There's nothing that
Oh,
I'm
okay.
really
Nice.
afraid about.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. So in that case, what would your dream job be? But again, if you did not take up finance and if you were not a CFO and,
Becoming a lawyer.
becoming a
I
lawyer,
always wanted to
okay.
be an advocate. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Just the thought of, I mean, is this the kind of, the advocates that are practicing? So, you go to court and you argue over a case, or is this more like corporate law?
It's more like a corporate law.
Okay, nice. Understood. Okay. And what is a book, movie, or, any piece of media? It could even be a podcast, or it could be, an audiobook that has had a huge impact on you.
Um, there are like lot of books I've been reading recently, but
Mm-hmm.
one book I probably have started off with was I really don't recollect the name. Sorry for that, but
Mm-hmm.
that was one book which helped me started to get into this kind of journey. Till then, it was always like novels and etc. etc.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
After reading that book, I actually picked up that's
So it
it'll
was a
have something called
non-fiction book.
it's totally a non-fiction book. It'll have something
Okay.
called Win. I don't remember the exact name.
Oh, is it
Probably
is it
because
Shiv Khera? You can win.
yes.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
where I started reading all these
Ah.
typical books.
Yeah. Okay. No, but then, sometimes even these days when I feel like I have to read these books because, they give you a roadmap of sorts of how to achieve a particular goal. But then I'm always gravitating towards, fiction and novels because that's more interesting.
That
You
keeps
feel
you
you want to
lively.
do that. Exactly.
That keeps you
Exactly.
lively.
Exactly. It keeps you lively and it feels like, you're doing something that is a stress buster. But with a book like
Ah.
this, you feel like, oh, I have to pay attention. I have to, so it
See,
doesn't feel like
I
you're
really
relaxing.
don't. Oh, sorry, but I really don't look at those books in that way. Like I have to pay
Okay.
attention or something.
Mm.
But probably the only way of reading those books will be maybe I'll just pick some one-line statement from that book,
Ah.
which I try to kind of implement in our daily life. Of course, it doesn't happen over a period of time. Like maybe in a day or two, it'll definitely not happen. But since I told like
Mm.
I learned things hard ways, so
Uh-huh.
it was always like, I just that probably that one line statement is always there on back of my mind. I get a hit somewhere in a bad shape, and then I remember, and then I start implementing it. Probably that's
Mm.
how you learn it, right?
Right. Makes
One,
sense.
unless you don't undergo a
Yeah.
situation or a
Yeah.
scenario, you don't understand what
Correct.
is
Correct.
the intention of that particular
Yeah.
line.
Correct. Correct.
So
That makes sense. So the next question is a little more, I mean, has to do with your professional life as well. What is a skill or a discipline that you have had to master as a finance leader that has nothing to do with, Excel or numbers or IFRS or none of that? But what is a discipline that you have inculcated over the years?
one is sticking on to your commitment. It could be like timing or you know even to the extent of you walking into the office, the timing
Mm.
of you walking into the office, that also matters. Probably not every company would look at that perspective, but there are few people who might be typical old school and everything, but then it has its own positive also. When you walk up into the company right on time, and probably not everybody they'll be still settling down and everything, but you'll
Mm.
have that own set of space and time for you to do a brainstorm, like what do you want to do
Yeah.
today, fresh
Mm.
ideas. So maybe
Mm.
that is one thing I've really learned.
Right. I think that's something even we should inculcate in my office we have a little bit of a flexible, in time. But then what you're saying is actually right. On the days that we do manage to come in bright and early, there's always you feel like
And
you have more of the day and you can structure your day
yes,
a lot better rather than just
you'll feel the
coming
days
in
are long.
time. Yeah, you'll feel the day is a lot longer. That's
Days
true.
long.
Yeah, that's advice that I'm going to inculcate right away. Okay, now a little more of a, weird question of sorts. But if you could host a dinner and you could invite any three people, they could be dead or alive, who would they be and why? So, like, they could be
Oh,
historical
okay.
figures, they could be, people in your family, they could just be anybody, but three people whom you could have a good dinner table conversation with, or rather, you would want to.
One would definitely be my dad for sure.
Okay.
He would be my first preference always. So
Mhm.
the second would be my first company CEO, Mr. Manohar Matta. He's an amazing guy to talk with. I mean, like, he's 60 now, but if you look at him, probably you'll feel he's somewhere around 45 or something. That
Oh,
is
wow.
how he maintains his health, his appearance, and everything. So he's one guy whom I would be calling across, and then the other person would be uh, Mr. Shrigiri. So I don't have any nexus with him from work front, or we are not friends also. He's just an acquaintance to me. But we have very rare talks. But
Mhm.
when we have a conversation, it'll really prolong hours. So
Mhm.
it could be from a philosophical perspective. It could be from different narratives and everything. His experiences, my experiences, and etc. So maybe all three of them put together would be a deadly combo for me.
Mm. Nice, good pick. Uh, and so, I mean, we've all heard about ESG reporting and AI and, a lot of these buzzwords. But what is a recent trend or technology or even cultural phenomenon that you are excited about?
Maybe if you ask me about the trends that are booming up right now, like you've mentioned AI and everything, maybe I'm
Mhm.
looking for Python.
Okay, right.
Python is one that I'm definitely looking for because maybe I see some value which this AI and all the other tools are ideally, kind of
Correct.
flattening up. But
Yeah.
Python is far more
Actually, I completely agree. In fact, we made a tiny tool, a Python based tool only. Basically, there's that MCA reporting that you have to do, where you have to disclose all this truck of companies that you've dealt with, whether it's a customer or a vendor. So this was it is a tedious task actually. You have to go to the MCA website and check the CIN number, check whether this company is struck off or not.
uh,
Yeah, so that's something where we automated the entire process, and we have like a Python based tool. It's nothing fancy. There's no flashy UI or front end to it, but it does the job. So it's just
Well, it
something that
makes your
is
life easier, right?
it does.
I mean,
Yes,
see,
yes,
that's one reason exactly why all these other tools are actually coming up. The user interface, the UI coding that they make, ideally might put
correct.
you the screen very visible, very attractive, and everything. In fact, SAP also, I really
Mhm.
get pissed off looking at SAP.
What's
Trust me,
the
I get.
what's the ERP that you have right now at RNE Life Sciences?
Over here, they use a simple Tally ERP, and for the
Tally.
CRM
Okay.
module, they just use Zoho.
Zoho. Okay, and that does the job. You don't need something fancy.
Exactly. Why do I want to
Yeah.
complicate or integrate everything into a single thing? I mean,
Mm,
like I'm very much comfortable in Tally. I
correct.
could easily consolidate even 500 crore turnover companies into Tally. So
Yeah,
that
yeah,
was
that's
quite
right.
easier.
Correct.
And in fact, if you talk about, I'm not promoting it. It's just my view, my standpoint
Hmm.
again. They have enough customizations also that they do
Yeah,
based on the
correct.
module requirements and everything. It's just that,
Mm-hmm.
that extra effort or extra time that you're supposed to spend.
Correct, correct, correct.
So probably I might sound like a typical old school right at this point of time, but I feel the modules or the ERP systems that were there in our earlier stages are quite competitive
Mm,
than what all are they coming up right now. Because if
yeah.
you take this Zoho, Odoo, or anything, when you talk about accounting especially, they are good for a non-accounting person.
Mm,
A non-accounting person who doesn't know the meaning of what is a purchase, what is a sale, what is a debit, what is a
yeah,
credit,
correct.
where does a transaction hit what, etc., etc. For
Mm,
them, these kind of softwares are really good. But if you want an accounting person to use his brain and do his job, then I would
yeah.
definitely not prefer those.
Correct, correct. That's very insightful actually, because while these tools are going on to simplify business operations, there is a perspective that they're losing sight of the core of it, which is the accounting part.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, we have last two closing questions. One is, what is one question that you wish people asked you more often?
Nothing. I don't want to
You
be
get too
questioned.
many questions. You get too many questions in a day.
Not really. I mean, I'm stationed in Hyderabad basically, and my company is in Bangalore. So my
Mhm.
phone and my Teams are always on.
It's always one.
And I
Okay.
have a little brat of 7 years old, my kid. So he is always on his with his questions. So I'm like, leave me at a place where I'm lonely.
Okay. Oh my gosh, that we've never heard that before. So that's quite a unique answer. But okay, what's one fun or inspiring takeaway that you would want our listeners to be left with?
Um, Fun takeaway probably I'll say if you've read this book or even if you've got to have a look at the title, The Subtle Art of
You're not giving
Saying
enough.
exactly. I would ask everybody to read that book.
Oh yeah, this is by Mark Manson, right?
Yes.
Okay,
I've
okay.
started telling that after I've read that book.
Your life is a lot more peaceful and you're more zen.
No, because all of us, we carry some illusionary responsibilities on our head, which are ideally not supposed to. We are not supposed to burden or overburden ourselves. I've been coming from that, so I've started leaving one by one and keeping my mind very productive.
Mm,
So saying no is also very hard. So we'll have to
yeah.
learn saying no.
Yes, I think inherently a lot of us are people pleasers, so we try to say yes so that the other person is
Exactly.
not disappointed with us, or we are
Exactly.
accommodative.
So you never say no, and end of the day, when you look across yourself in the mirror, you'll feel so sorry for yourself.
Yeah.
So in before
We feel
that,
depleted in a way that, just
and you want everybody to kind of show that kind of sorry feeling to you. I don't think that's the worst part anybody can have. We shouldn't ideally end up going to that level. So maybe I'll ask everybody to read that. Say no.
say no more often. That's good parting advice.